Well, hey, everybody, welcome to Real Life Church. We're right in the middle of our teaching series called 10. We've been looking at these 10 commandments and specifically, how do they relate to us today? Now, today, I'm going to play a little word game. I hope that you'll play along. I'm going to say a word. You kind of think out loud what you think when I say that word. If I say, put your nose to the, what are you thinking? Put your nose to the grindstone, right? You've probably heard that before. No pain, no gain. That's right. If you don't succeed, try again. The early bird gets the worm. I'm sure that you guys are 100% right now. If you want something done right, do it yourself. Okay. No rest for the weary. Now, this one goes back to my era. Bachman Turner Overdrive sang a song taking care of, do you know what it is? Business. That's right. Now, hopefully you caught on, because all those phrases, whether it's put your nose to the grindstone, no pain, no gain, if it doesn't work, try it again, worm, dollar. I mean, all of these little word phrases that we did really point towards the American work ethic and how hard we work. And it should also be a reminder of how this fourth commandment is going to play out in our life. Now, if you remember, we've already had 3 of our commandments, and I hope that you've listened to them. If you haven't, I want to encourage you to go back to our website, look at those, because they're actually standalone teachings, but they're going to help us understand what these commandments are for today. Well, today we're looking at the 4th commandment, and it states, remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. That's probably not a word that we're all that familiar with. Sabbath. I mean, we don't really do Sabbath today. We do Sunday, but we don't really do Sabbath. And so a lot of times when we talk about this 4th commandment, it brings up a lot of controversy, because honestly, the Sabbath was actually Friday at 6 till Saturday at 6. I mean, some people today, and there are some denominations out there who observe the Sabbath. And then there are some denominations out there who only worship on Saturdays. I'm not here to discuss all of that. So let me define Sabbath for you. We're talking about a day, a 24-hour period where you cease from your primary vocation to focus on God and to focus on rest. So when I say Sabbath, I'm saying a 24-hour period where you basically cease working to focus on God and to get rest. Now, I think this commandament's pretty important, but I also realize that I violate this commandment a lot. And it's really caused me to take some inventory of my Sabbath. And it's been really challenging for me as I've kind of put this talk together. So you're going to find this 4th commandment in Exodus chapter 20, verse 8. It says, remember to observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Now, I want you to remember this, because this is true throughout this whole series. These commandments weren't given to us to restrict us, but to give us freedom, to help us live more productively, to help us be more purposeful, to live our life in a way that glorifies and honors God. Now, a lot of people today don't think that breaking this commandment is all that big of a deal. I mean, it's not like it's murder or adultery or stealing, worshiping other gods. I mean, those are big deals. But to break the Sabbath, I'm not even sure anybody would notice or care. And it's really kind of the way we do things today. But if we're going to live lives like God wanted us to live, then this 4th commandment is really about our relationship with God. Now, this commandment has a long history. I mean, it goes back all the way to, well, the creation of the world, in which God did in what? 6 days? And on the seventh day, I hope that you notice that it said that God rested. I mean, God must have been tired, right? He wasn't tired, okay? He didn't need a break. He's God. He's almighty. He's all powerful. He can do everything. But he took a Sabbath. He took a time. I wonder why he did that. Maybe, and just maybe, he was trying to set the example for his creation. 6 days of work, 1 day of rest. Also, now keep in mind, Israel had quite a history too. They had been slaves for about 400 years, and when God freed them, he reminded them of the Sabbath, okay, to take that day of rest and focus on God. Now, like I said, they observed their Sabbaths from Friday sundown to Saturday, a 24-hour period. But after the resurrection sometime in the first century, the Sabbath moved from, well, what people will say, from Saturday to Sunday. And like I said, I'm not here to debate that. And honestly, to put that on the first day of the week. Now, I don't want to get overly legalistic or really liberal on this whole point, because there are certain people that have to work on the Sabbath. I mean, there are all kinds of people who work on Sundays. I mean, they work all day Sunday. Maybe they're in retail. Maybe they work in restaurants. Maybe they're pastors. I don't know if you noticed that, but pastors work on Sunday. Or maybe you don't consider that work. I don't know, but I work on Sunday. So really, I don't want to be legalistic and say, well, your Sabbath, or we would not have people who work in restaurants. So after church, you couldn't go to lunch or whatever it is that you do. You couldn't go shopping or whatever that nature, because there would be nobody working there. So certain people work on Sundays, but that doesn't keep us from not adhering to the fourth commandment of taking a 24-hour period to focus on God and to rest. Now, unfortunately, there are some consequences with all of this. I mean, there's some pretty significant ones, and you feel it and you know it also. When you don't get that 24-hour period of focus on God and rest, work tends to overwhelm you. I mean, when you don't get that Sabbath, I mean, all you think about and all you do is work, work, work. Sometimes it's to get extra cash. Sometimes it's, I don't know, you get meaning out of your job. I mean, but you don't get the rest and you don't get the rejuvenation that you need. I mean, minus the God part of this, okay, when you work, 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 you're not getting as much done as you think you are. Matter of fact, God did again set the example for us. He said you can get your work done in 6 days. I mean, there are all kinds of people, all right, that feel like I have to work that 7th day in order to be able to get my work done. No, what happens is you get tired, you get overwhelmed, you get stressed out, you get burned out when you don't get rejuvenated and when you don't get rested. Now, the second consequence to this, and we're going to explore this even more, as it says it always seems that you're tired and you're never quite rested. I mean, does that sound like you? Do you feel tired? Are you kind of burned out? Are you frazzled at both ends? Did you know your body needs rest? I mean, more so than just the 4, 5, 8, 12 hours it is that you rest at night. Your body needs rest. When you don't get rest, we tend to compensate, don't we? I do. We do things like drink energy drinks, okay? I stopped doing that, by the way. After I threw one up, I don't do energy drinks anymore. But now I do iced coffee, caffeine, Diet Pepsi, whatever it is, you get that little push that you need. Why? Because you're tired. And by the way, when you're tired, you're not near as mentally sharp as you think you are. I mean, you tend to get more irritated and people set you off and you snap at them when you're tired. I mean, all because we've ignored the fourth commandment. Now, there is a third consequence out there, and this is getting to us Christians. When you don't get your Sabbath, that 24-hour period of focus on God and rest, you begin to feel spiritually empty. I mean, your spirit needs rejuvenation. That's why God gave us the fourth commandment. It wasn't just about rest. It was focusing on God. It was getting ourselves rejuvenated physically and spiritually. I mean, if we don't do this, okay, our relationship with God is going to suffer. I cannot tell you the number of people that I have talked to who have said that they're spiritually drained or they're spiritually running on empty. They're spiritually just wiped out. You know what I want to ask them? Is how are you doing with that fourth commandment, right? All right. Always consequences, and then there's some benefits, all right? First of all, we have balance, okay, between work and the rest of our life. I know you're probably smirking right out now when I talk about balance, okay? I'm not one to talk about balance because a lot of times my life is out of balance, okay? Too much one way or the other. And I will tell you, that's why I didn't like doing this fourth commandment, okay? I talked to one of my accountability partners and said, man, I don't know if I'm looking forward to this fourth commandment because balance is not something that I handle real well. I mean, because work always is demanding. There's always something to do. But I will tell you, there are seasons of life when the fourth commandment is going to be a struggle for you. But you also know, okay, you do know, right? When you're out of balance, I mean, we can rationalize it, we can justify it, but balance ought to be our goal. And really, are we talking balance? Because observing the Sabbath, okay, and keeping balance is one day. You got 6. God says balance on 1. Rest and focus on God. I mean, that's what the fourth commandment was given to us for. To remind us that, well, work is not the most important thing. And the Sabbath hopefully will bring balance to us and give us a healthy perspective. I mean, when you have a healthy perspective, when you're observing the Sabbath and getting that rest and that focus on God, every relationship in your life will be better. I mean, you get to connect with your family, you get to connect with God, you get rejuvenated by God when you observe this fourth commandment. And now, God gave us this as a commandment. We've treated this fourth commandment more as a suggestion, okay? But when we want to be at our best for God's glory, we want to get a better balance on this fourth commandment. Now, by the way, Sunday is not just a day of rest, but it is a day to focus on God, to serve God, to honor God. And it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the week. It's what I call our gas station moment. We fill up on His presence. We fill up by focusing on Him, and He empowers us for the rest of the week. But we're going to come back to that in a minute. So how do we live with this fourth commandment? I mean, this is a tough one, okay? I'm trying, like I said, to get all 4 of these things that we're talking about today. And the very first one is you gotta respect this, okay? Understand the power of the Sabbath. I mean, going back to Genesis 1, we did see that God created the world in 6 days. I mean, the moon, the stars, the planets, the plants, the animals, everything in 6 days, right? And on the 7th, it said that God, rested. Like I said, He wasn't tired. He didn't need rest. He was setting the tone for us. So there must be some power in observing this Sabbath. Now, I know what you're likely to say. Well, there's just not enough time in the week. There's not enough time in the day, so you have to work on that Sabbath. You have to work on that seventh day. No, you don't. I mean, it's interesting that observing this Sabbath was meant for you, not you for the Sabbath, okay? Jesus said that, by the way. He said the Sabbath was made to meet the needs of the people. What's your need? Rest. What's your need? Focus on God. Not to meet the requirements of the Sabbath, because that's what they did back then. They made all these rules and regulations about the Sabbath. You could do this on the Sabbath. You couldn't do that on the Sabbath. And Jesus said, you missed the point. The point of the Sabbath is for you. It's for me to focus on God and get the rest that we need. I mean, this is how God created you, by the way. You need relaxation. You need recharging. It's in your DNA, okay? And by the way, if you're rested and you're refocused, I promise you, you will get more done in 6 days than you ever could in 7. Oh, you don't believe me? Well, they've actually done studies. I mean, there were people who they said they were going to go to a 10-day work week. And by the way, they stayed on it for a very short time. Because why? People were burned out. They got wiped out physically. They were walking zombies trying to do their job. And so they went back to a 7-day work week, and it didn't work. They were still exhausted. And so maybe God was trying to recognize that there is some power in keeping the Sabbath. 6 days and a 7th of rest and focus on God. Now, the second thing, not just power, you gotta make the Sabbath a priority. I mean, how many of you have a smartphone? Duh, that's a dumb question, right? A lot of you are listening to me on a smartphone right now. A tablet? I mean, how many of you right now keep your whole calendar on your smartphone, your tablet, whatever it is? I mean, only my mom has a really calendar that you write on, okay? And you put appointments on. The rest of us, the rest of the world, we do things, well, via, technology, right? We're going to have to learn to prioritize. And things that are important, they make it to my calendar, don't they? Don't they for you? I mean, if you're supposed to be somewhere, is the Sabbath a priority, or is the Sabbath something you only do when you have nothing else to do? I mean, that's a tough one, right? To prioritize the Sabbath. Like I said, a 24-hour period, because my Sabbath isn't on Sunday. My Sabbath is usually Friday, okay? And I don't do that very well, all right? But a 24-hour period of rest and relaxation and focus on God. And isn't it interesting in this one commandment, it starts off with remember to observe? Maybe it was God saying that I need to remind my people constantly to get their rest, to get their focus on God. And by the way, did you know your church, wherever you attend, it was designed to help you focus on God? Do you schedule your church time? Do you make it a priority? I mean, I'm not saying that you have to attend church on Sunday, but is it a priority for you? I hope so. Okay, it's powerful. It's got to be a priority. And the third one is you got to protect it. I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of outside forces out there. There are a lot of things that are going to fight for your Sabbath, okay? Whenever it is, okay? Something is always going to pop up that wants you to do something on your Sabbath. We're going to have to fight against that because our culture has all kinds of distractions. I mean, they creep in everywhere. They come in through our kids and their schedules and their sports and their dance and their this and their that. And then they come in with your friends. They have Saturday and Sunday off and they want to go do this and they want to go do that. And you want to be with your friends. And so we go out and we do this and then we don't get our Sabbath because we're not focusing on God and we're not focusing on rest and relaxation. Or maybe we are. Maybe it is all rest and relaxation on that Sunday. I've heard this, I'm too tired to come to church. then you're really out of balance, right? I mean, it's my only day to sleep in. Is it? I don't know. Okay. But you got to protect it. You got to make it a priority. I mean, it's important for us to rest. We're good on the rest and relaxation a lot of times, but the focus on God. And like I said, your church, wherever church you go to, is designed to help you do that. It's not the end all be all. Okay. You can do a Sabbath and not go to church, but really, are you focusing on God? Are you really focusing on God, or is that something that we're telling ourselves? We'll talk about that in commandment number 9. Now, let's go on with this. Okay, we make it, we understand the power of it, we understand the priority of it, and then we also protect it. And here's the big one that we tend to forget, that every other day of the week belongs to God. You say, that's kind of weird. Yeah. Your Sabbath is not the only day that you focus on God. It's the primary day that God set aside for you to focus on God. But all of the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, are his days also. And so if I'm talking to a Christian right now, I'm telling you that how you do your work and what you do at work, well, it all matters. And you got to honor God while you're doing it. I mean, the Sabbath, okay, was to help you do work and do everything else in those other 6 days. And those 6 days also belong to God. Now, I don't know what you face in your work week. I don't know what you're facing right now. I don't know whether you're overwhelmed or you're emotionally or spiritually drained, but I want you to know something. When we get this fourth commandment correct, it brings balance to our relationship. Now, I don't know where you're at, but I do know what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 11. He offered those people, okay, rest. And this is what he said. When you come to me, when you're weary, when you're tired, when you're stressed out, you can put on his yoke. Matter of fact, you can put on Jesus, okay? And he will carry your burdens and he will give you, you notice what he said, rest. Now that's intended for believers. When we're stressed out, when we're worked out, we know that we've messed up this fourth commandment. You can go to Jesus and he will give you rest, but you have to honor him. You have to focus on him. You have to do it his way. And by the way, Jesus was the fulfillment of the fourth commandment. He gives us rest. I mean, we don't have to be weary in Jesus. He gives us peace and rest and mercy and grace. I mean, he fulfilled the fourth commandment for you and I. So there you have it. It's a tough one, man, but I hope that you see how these commandments that God gives us, okay, well, they were meant for us to live out each and every day. So now, when we come back next time, we're going to shift a little bit. We're going to shift in our relationship with God to now our relationship with one another. And we're going to start looking at people stuff in these commandments. We've looked at the first 4, specifically relating to God. But by the way, if you can't get these 4 right, the ones that talked about that you shall have no other gods, that you won't have idols, that you won't misuse his name, and this one here, keeping the Sabbath. If we can't get the first 4 right, we're really going to struggle with commandment 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right? Can't wait to get back into this series next time we meet. I want to pray for you. All right? I want to pray for me. All right? I need help in this area. All right? God, again, I thank you for your word. I thank you again for our time together. I thank you for being able to look at it and to see what it says. And Father, even to be convicted by what it says, to know that, Lord, I need to make changes in my own life as I stand here in front of these people. And I pray, Father, that you would help me to have focus on God and to get rest for my body. Lord, I have one of those jobs that allows me to focus on you a lot, okay? But maybe more so focus on my relationship with you instead of me trying to help others with their relationship. So whatever it is that you're trying to say in my own spirit, God, I pray that I would process this and people out there listening would process it also. God, thank you for being faithful to us. Thank you for setting the example for us. And it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey, thanks for being a part of Real Life Church. I appreciate you listening. I hope you got something from it. And I will hopefully see you back next time.